Hey, how you guys doing? So today we're going to start off a series. We're going to start with the running backs, top 20 running backs. We're going to compare our list that we made to Fantasy Pro experts. So if you're new to fantasy, definitely this is going to help you. Even if you're experienced with fantasy, maybe this might make you feel more comfortable with some picks that you have, or maybe, you might learn something. So today we're going to get into that. I'm Kyle.
My name's Matt.
And this is Living the Fantasy. We're going to start off with tier 1, which is the obvious tier, top 4 running backs. If you're in the top 4 spots in the draft, you have to get one of these guys.
100%. Every time.
Every time. No other guy you can draft. Receiver, that can wait. So, Saquon, Elliot, Kamara, McCaffrey, it's all arrange them however you see fit.
They're interchangeable. They're all like elite talents. You have to get them at the beginning. Maybe you can throw DeAndre Hopkins in there sometimes, but it's going to be very, very rare that you do that. That's only if you're in hundreds of leagues, like that 1 out of 100, you're going to grab them. But for just running backs, those are going to be your top 4, and then everybody's got a different take on who's number 1.
I have Zeke number 1 based off of the past 3 seasons he's been in the league. He's just very consistent. He's always healthy, good line, good offense. Week in, week out, he's going to do good for you.
Are you worried about the suspension at all? Or is he holding out or any of that stuff? Or?
I don't think he's holding out, or he's going to hold out the season, because he's also two years away from the contract, because they have 1 more year left on his rookie contract, and then they have the 5th-year option. So generally running backs, they're going to hold out maybe after this next year. So look for that after this year. But for this year, maybe training camp he holds out, but I don't think it's going to go past that. So I'm not worried about that at all. I don't think there's any risk. He's going to be good to go.
On my list, I got Christian McCaffrey number 1, just because I think that he is the least scary in regards to, like, his offense didn't change at all. He didn't get any, like, they have the same coaches, they have the same quarterback, they have the same wide receivers for the most part, and the only thing that he's done is he got just a little bit heavier, and that's it. And that's something I was worried about before. He used to be 205, and now he's 210, 215. So I kind of like that a little bit better. Zeke, he has the suspension risk, because they kind of said he's not going to get suspended, but you never know with him because he has a history of issues. Saquon, he's got the he's got probably the worst team in the league, so it's kind of, us being Redskins and Eagles fans, you can see we don't like this guy. We like him as a player, but we hate the rest of the team.
I think he's the best back in the league by far.
Skill-wise,
ability by far.
Skill-wise, yes.
In terms of offense, he's gonna have plenty of targets, plenty of yards just because of opportunity. However, his line's been a problem over the years. Still not the best, but better than it has been. It's just not having Odell. Are they gonna start stacking the box against him? How's he gonna fare with that? He's just gonna have to hold up over the whole season with heavy workload, and so that you might have a little bit of durability concern there. So I would I think he's number 2. Definitely up top 4. You can't go wrong with picking him number 1. But McCaffrey's another good one you mentioned. He's really good with receptions, so if you're in a full point PPR, McCaffrey's going to be a beast for you. So maybe then I would move him up a little bit. But in terms of half point PPR, I have him 3. And Kamara, he's just a beast. Opportunity-wise, he's one of those few guys that doesn't need like heavy workload to still get it done.
Yep.
He's just game-breaking skill.
The one statistic I got to point out with Alvin Kamara, 18 touchdowns. He had 18 touchdowns last year. Like, that's receiving and rushing, and that's absolutely insane. The one thing that you'll see, though, across everybody's rankings is that every single person has him number 4 almost. And that's because, like, those other 3 guys are just like, they're interchangeable, and then it's Alvin Kamara. But Alvin Kamara could have just as good of a year as any of these other guys, if not better. So it's just, it's just preference, I think.
There's room for regression with the touchdowns because, like we said, the opportunity is not always going to be as high as those other guys. So if his efficiency just isn't there for whatever reason, which it will be, but to like the same degree as last year in terms of touchdowns, who knows? Maybe he could do better, but like there's just room for regression for sure. There's high risk for that. Also, Latavius Murray, he might come in and steal some touchdowns from him. But they had Mark Ingram last year, so it's not really too much of a concern.
Exactly. Mark Ingram had the same exact role, so we don't know exactly what Latavius Murray is going to do, and I think the question marks around that are the reason why Alvin's just a little bit lower. Plus, people are worried about his size, even though technically he weighs more than Christian McCaffrey. So it's kind of weird because nobody worries about Christian McCaffrey's size in any way, but like with Alvin Kamara, they do. for me, I just don't like Alvin Kamara as much as a player, and so like I always pick those other 3 guys first. But I will grab Alvin Kamara all day of the week at number 4.
I had him last year. I love them, but at the end of the day, the other 3 guys are for sure bell cow backs. So you don't have to worry about how the opportunity. So they're just going to be getting it. So it's a little safer.
So getting out of tier 1, that's when the question marks start falling in.
So Fantasy Pros is David Johnson, number 5. Me and him both have the same thing. Basically, opportunity-wise, he's going to get a crap ton of opportunity. And he's also a receiving back. The offensive line is a little healthier now, as the offensive line was really banged up last year. The starters, not too much better than, second and third strings because their line just isn't that good in general. Still a terrible line. However, it still could be slightly improved. I think it's more just going to be the new coach, more plays coming in. That's going to really help him out.
Yeah, and I've got him number 5 on my list also. The one issue that I have is Cliff Kingsbury or whatever. I hate that guy. I think he has never proved himself as a coach in any capacity, and so it worries me. I don't know how you can mess up the Cardinals offense any worse than they're already messed up, but at the same time, I don't trust that guy to run my offense, and so it scares me to pick him over other guys like Damien Williams, Joe Mixon, James Conner, who I trust their coaches and I trust those players. But David Johnson's he's proven, he gets a ton of touches regardless of what season you've looked at him in. So I've got him at the number 5. It's painful for me to do it, but I will grab him, above a lot of other guys.
I would say at this point in the draft, you're kind of looking at, am I taking David Johnson or am I going DeAndre Hopkins? Maybe if you're a fan of Julio or Devontae Adams, you can take them. But I would say it's between him and Hopkins for sure at this point. I think what he's trying to say with the coach is with the rookie coach, you kind of don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what to expect. First year offense, there's a lot of uncertainties with that. However, that's also a good thing, the fact that NFL defenses might not have a game plan for you. It's kind of like when Chip Kelly first came in with that high-power offense. They're running a crap ton of plays.
First season
killed it. So it could be the same thing. However, they did see Chip Kelly's offense. Is his similar to Chip Kelly's? I'm not sure, but...
And Cliff is a little different. He's literally a coach who had a losing record at Texas Tech literally 10 years in a row, and he got fired midway through the season this year. And so it's so weird that a guy like that can just go directly from a losing record at Texas Tech to a professional football team's head coach. So that just trips me out. Maybe they see something we don't see. And then obviously David Johnson's a beast. So you're not gonna. There's no issue with the player. We know that the player had 300 touches last year or something crazy like that. 258 plus 50 receptions. So it's
he's for sure going to get a bunch of work in. One thing too is Kyler Murray's more of a mobile quarterback. Generally, mobile quarterbacks, they're a little better rushing the ball because defenses have to worry about the quarterback rushing. So that could even help him out, even though the offensive line is still bad. He's just going to get a bunch of work in, and there's really no injury concerns with him. He had 1 year where he kind of just broke his wrist or whatever. But that's not even a leg injury, so he's gonna have fresh legs. It's way better than any sort of other injury these other guys have on the list. Kind of safe, kind of risky in my opinion, but definitely the upside is a lot higher than some of the other guys in tier 2.
And he's a consensus number 5, so we all can agree on that one. But after that, it's when it kind of switches it up. Fantasy Pros has got Melvin Gordon at number 6. We both have a lot of issues with that. Melvin Gordon's got contract issues. He also was game scripted into getting a lot of the points that he had last year, and I really was bothered by that. The fact that everybody still got him high up there. Plus, he's missed playoffs two in the past 2 years. So it's a lot of risk for one player that you take in the first round.
He's always injured every year, pretty much. I think there's 1 year where he didn't get injured, but other than that, he's at least 2 games every year. He just has durability concerns. And it's also because he's getting so much work that's happening. His numbers are really good in terms of stats. He's going to give you a lot of points on your fantasy team. It's just efficiency-wise, it's not quite as up there as somebody like Kamara. Kamara's just efficient as hell. It's just a beast. So with Melvin Gordon, it's definitely more risky. And he might not even be on the Chargers. We don't even know. So
they don't have any coaching changes, so we know they're going to run things pretty much the exact same way. But he just I don't know. It's hard to go against a guy that had 5.1 yards a carry, but I think the writing's on the wall. I think we can kind of see that he's not going to be as productive as he was last year, and at the same time, there's injury risk. There's you want to evade the risk as much as possible with your first round pick. So there's other guys to look at. I would consider grabbing one of those other running backs, even though they're way lower in ADPs. We both disagree. I have James Conner at number 6, and he has Joe Mixon. Why do you have Joe Mixon right there? What are your reasons?
Joe Mixon, I think, is just a beast. Last year he proved he was the real deal. He got injured for a couple games, but it wasn't too big of a deal. I don't think he has a history of being injured, so I don't think that's too big of a concern. Maybe a little bit. I might have to move him down a little bit in the future. I didn't realize this, but 2 of his linemen are actually gone now. One towards labrum, he's out for the season, and the other guy that was arguably one of the better guys on their line, he actually retired because of health concerns. So that could be a concern. And they also have like a lot of backs kind of behind him. So if they want to pivot from him, I think they could, but he's definitely going to be a good guy to grab. If he's not where I currently have him, maybe he's slightly farther down. If you get him in round 2, he's a steal every time. Round 2 for sure, take him. End of round 1 though is kind of where he's going. You might want to take a receiver instead of him. He's just really good though. He's going to have a lot of points.
And I think he's got top running back in the league upside. Like even for me, like I have James Conner and then I have Joe Mixon, but like I see Joe Mixon as a guy that can literally scrape all the way up to the top of the board, just because he's got a 93rd percentile speed score, like weight adjusted, and the dude's just like he runs like an animal. He's just insane. Plus his game script, like I was talking about with Melvin Gordon, is the exact opposite scenario where every single game he was trying to get rushes. He was just game scripted out of him. Basically, what that means is like they had to throw the ball because they were behind. It would really like eat into his workload, and yet he still put up like insane numbers like all season long. He had 237 rushes, 1,168 yards, 4.9 per carry, which is absolutely insane. And he did good work all season long. He's only missed a few games from injury, right? He missed what?
I think it was 2.
He missed 2 last year. So I don't know. I think that he could be a number 1 running back in the league if he ever hits a ceiling. But it's a matter of time.
He can receive for sure. That's not really the issue. It's just that Bernard is probably more of a receiving back than them. So while he can receive and he will get some receptions for sure, they might use Bernard in that scenario.
Well, yeah, and he got targeted 55 times, so we know that he's like he can.
And I just have him above Connor because I think James Conner is a little bit more inconsistent. He kind of started the year, I think the first game or 2 he didn't do the best, and then he turned it on for a few games, and then he kind of like not the best couple weeks. And then I think he had like 3 or 4 straight really, really good weeks. And then at the end of the year, he tapered off and didn't do as good. So in terms of consistency, and every week you're getting points, I think Joe Mixon's better. James Conner's more inconsistent, and that's why I have him a little farther down on the list.
So why do you have Le'Veon Bell above Conner?
And Le'Veon Bell, he used to be the number 1 running back in the league. He's just a beast. Reception dog, like he can just all day targets. In the Jets offense, he could be a huge workhorse. We've seen what he can do. The concern with him, though, is it's his first time in that offense. Adam Gase, we kind of hate Adam Gase here, so
very much
not the best coach. But
he's probably trash in every sense of the word is how I would describe him.
So it's a little risky because of the coach. We don't like him, but he's going to be the bell cow. Adam Gase didn't even want him, so that can kind of show you something. But
exactly. It's crazy because he had almost 2,000 yards in 3 of his past 4 seasons, like aside from the him holding out season, but like over almost 2,000 yards in all those seasons. So it's like all purpose, which is absolutely insane. So I really like him as a player, but at the same time, he's going to be working off rust. You were talking to me about this earlier. He's working off rust, and
he held that a couple years ago. Came back in the first 3 games, he did terrible. I'm not quite sure on the situation. Maybe they played tough defenses. Definitely had to come back for some rust. Wasn't playing the best. So this year, after having a whole year out, he might be rusty. Also, the Steelers' offense is kind of like whoever's playing running back is good. So, is he just kind of a product of that environment? Obviously, we know he has skill, but how much of it is because of the Steelers? Yeah. So going to a new place, not only is it a whole new system, whole new everything, even the first-year head coach in that spot, I believe he just transferred teams. So it's just a lot of uncertainty there. And another problem with me is he's always kind of seems to be injured every year. It's not too bad. Generally, he only misses a couple games, but it's just he kind of does have a slight concern when it comes to injury. So that's another problem with him.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, man.
I feel like with Joe Mixon, Le'Veon Bell, and James Conner, even Melvin Gordon, I guess, it's kind of all interchangeable. I could easily put James Conner above Le'Veon Bell. In terms of consistency, I think Joe Mixon's safer, but uncertainty with Le'Veon Bell and then James Conner's a little inconsistent for me.
Yeah, today, I've been doing a bunch of drafts, and, in a lot of them, I've been grabbing Damien Williams and Joe Mixon as much as I possibly can. Le'Veon Bell, he has got the 27th best run blocking in the league, and so that kind of makes me sick. Obviously they made improvements a little bit, but it's I don't know. It's really risky for a first round, second round pick.
There's just a lot of red flags all over the place for Le'Veon, so it's kind of just. I feel like at this point you're kind of just drafting him for the past and hoping he does good, and he could still have 1,000 yards, some couple touchdowns, maybe 6 or 7. I don't think he gets double digits
It's
rushing.
possible.
He never really got double digits. He never was a touchdown guy in the Steelers.
Just tons of yards and
Just a
tons
lot
of
of yards and receptions. So it's possible he does really good. That's why he's tier 2. He's not bad. Joe Mixon's probably better. James Conner, honestly, is probably even better at this point. Maybe I can move that a little around.
There's a lot of value wide receiver in this area too. Like in this part of the draft, you can grab some really decent guys.
Yeah, this is kind of where I like to get receivers too. Yeah, if Joe Mixon's gone, some of these guys are gone. It's definitely receivers for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes it feels like a reach for Damien Williams or somebody like that, just because they're going so deep in ADPs. So it's like you don't want to like reach above what their ADP is, even if like you really like a player.
That's all they have in their tier 2. My tier 2, I actually put his 2. We both rounded it off with Damien Williams, just because we feel like Damien Williams is a lot safer than Dalvin Cook. Injury concern wise, he never really had injury concern. We haven't seen that much of Damien Williams, but what we have seen is like really, really good play. And Andy Reid has said he's going to be a starter. As long as he's not injured, I think he's going to be doing a really, really good job. Tyreek Hill, he's not suspended, so that could open up some more opportunity for him in terms of running game. They can't stack the box against them, so he's going to have opportunity for sure.
I think that Tyreek Hill news is probably the best news that Damien Williams owners could have possibly had, to be completely honest. I think that a lot of people were like, oh, well, it's going to take away from some of his catches or some of his carries or whatever. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's just going to open things up for him a little bit more. That being said, Damien Williams has 6.6 yards per carry with the stacked front. So, honestly, we're not too worried about that, are we? Like, I mean, he didn't have it that often just because he has Mahomes and he has Tyreek Hill and he has Kelsey that, like, clear the box out for him. But when the box was full, he still got 6.6 yards per carry over the season. So I think Damien Williams is like an absolutely insane talent. He's got 95 percentile speed score, which is insane. I mean, some people ask, like you were asking me the other day, like, well, okay, so if he's so good, why hasn't he done it sooner? Like, you know, because he's been in the league for a long time, but he hasn't like done anything really. I just think that like I think it's finally his time, and he's finally, you know, grown into himself as a player, and he's going to be an absolute beast this year now that he finally has a chance.
And honestly, it really doesn't matter who's the running back when it comes to the Chiefs. Whoever's starting is the guy. He's going to get crazy points for you. That's just kind of what it is. If he's the starter for the Chiefs, he's going to get a lot of points as long as he's healthy. Because we haven't seen a huge sample size, we don't know how his durability is going to hold up. But he also is good with receptions. He can catch, and that's a good thing too, because the Chiefs, a lot of people worry about maybe Carlos Hyde coming in and stealing some touchdowns rushing on like goal line work, but that's not the case because they actually like to do receiving when they get close to the goal line. They like to use their backs as receivers, and that's why they get a lot of receptions or touchdowns towards the goal line, because they like their guys to be able to catch. And Carlos Hyde, as we know, doesn't really catch the ball very well, so I don't think they're actually going to use him that much in the goal line. So I don't really worry about Carlos Hyde or anybody stealing touches from him. I think he's pretty much... honestly, he could be even safer than some of the guys we mentioned above. Like, I kind of like him a little bit better.
He's a guy I'm reaching for, so like I have no issue with you going up and taking him above most of those other guys. I just had the decision today between whether or not I pick him or Joe Mixon in a draft, and I grabbed Damien Williams, and then in the very next one, I had the same exact decision. I grabbed Joe Mixon. So those are my two favorite within the tier. Every once in a while, I'll grab David Johnson, I'll grab James Conner, whatever. Le'Veon, I've been fading a little bit, but like I think that's where he belongs as far as tiers go. I just don't want to have the risk. So that's how I look at that tier.
And also, I feel like as preseason kind of starts to come closer, I think people are going to get a lot more, like, they're going to feel a lot better about it. Because they're going to be, okay, he's the starter, they're going to realize that. They're going to, I think his ADP is going to go up as time goes on, basically.
Andy Reid's a pretty honest guy.
So, yeah, so right now it seems like a stretch if you draft him higher than Joe Mixon and some of these other guys. But as the season gets closer, I don't think it's going to be that big of a stretch. So, honestly, I like him a little bit better than these other guys, honestly. So,
I mean, like I've been saying with all these young guys, it's exciting to see. Like, it's exciting to watch, and I can't wait to like see preseason.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is you don't have Melvin Gordon in your lineup or in your tier 2.
I don't.
So I put him in tier 2 just because he's still good. Whenever he's playing, he's doing a lot. He's always just getting huge fantasy numbers when he's playing. It's just I don't like him because of injury concern. Also, contract situation, you don't know where he's going to be. He should still be a Charger because I don't think the Chargers can afford to lose him at this point. They're kind of just trying to compete, and if they lose one of their biggest running backs, who are they going to have behind them? They
Justin
have
Jackson,
Austin Eckler, and those guys are smaller guys, so it's going to be kind of a committee.
It would be bad.
Unless they went out and picked like a Jai up off the waivers or somebody like that, but that kind of has its own problems.
I don't know. Maybe they trade him to Tampa Bay for Ronald Jones. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, so it's like there's some uncertainty there.
Yeah, and I think if he does get traded, it doesn't bring down his value at all if he goes to the right
unless he goes to the Eagles. I saw a video that he might go to the Eagles, but I think that was just some video like what ifs, and that's not going to happen. But
I don't think so. Yeah, They put too much into Miles Sanders.
I do think it matters, though. If he goes to the Eagles, for example, that's not going to happen. But if he did, you kind of have the committee right there, I think. So
that would be bad.
That would be bad.
I mean, Melvin Gordon's a workhorse, though. I feel like he would
start, but
initially, yeah. I think it would hurt his value over the long period.
It's more just injury concern for me, though, more than anything, to be honest. I just kind of want my guy to be healthy for my playoffs.
He single-handedly killed me in one of my most expensive leagues last year because he got injured for playoffs, and I ended up getting crushed. It's hard to really go back to the same player. You guys all know the fantasy bug. It's once it bites, you never want to go back. He's still in my tier 3. So Fantasy Pros, they got Todd Gurley and Nick Chubb at the top. What are your thoughts on those two guys, my friend?
I think we could both say we disagree with that one because there's a lot of risk with Todd Gurley.
Yep.
He, as we all know, has a screwed up knee and
arthritis.
He didn't really seem too comfortable when he answered that interview. He did an interview recently, and he kind of said it was good. He didn't really.
Yeah.
He didn't say, "Yeah, my knee's really good. I've been doing." And he was just kind of like, "Yeah, I'm good," but it didn't really instill much confidence.
Yeah.
So, and the way the Rams might use him is weird too, because we don't know, because they drafted a rookie really high up, Henderson. We love Henderson.
We love Henderson's game tape. So.
Yeah, he could be a beast, but a lot of uncertainty. With Todd Gurley, they could limit him, and kind of like an Alvin Kamara type situation, and maybe give him a little less carries. And he could still be really productive if he's out there for those amount of carries. Maybe he gets 15 touches a game. He could still be pretty good. He's just not going to be the crazy bell cow, I'm always just getting 30 points a game type of back that he was. We all know the Rams' offense is going to be good next year. They still have their top 3 receivers. They're just really explosive on offense. So if they have a big lead on somebody at halftime, hey, maybe they decide to pull him out for the rest of the game.
Which is what they did at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, and you don't want him pulled out for any part of the game. He gets 10, 15 points, which is still decent, and then for the rest of the game.
A lot of his points are garbage time, though. That's what he used to do. It was just all the garbage time points.
And that would help him for sure, because they'd just hand him the ball. So that's another problem, is he's just not going to be that guy like that. Yeah. Also, they could maybe start holding him out in the beginning of the year to give him more rest, and then as the year goes on, maybe they put a little bit more into him, because I think that at this point, they want him for playoffs, so he could get a little less volume in the beginning of the year to get him to the playoffs. That would be a smart thing to do.
With him, I agree with pretty much everything you said about Todd Gurley. The main thing is, if I get to that point in the draft and I have the decision to pick Todd Gurley, a lot of times I'm just going to grab Juju Smith-Schuster, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, George Kittle, Zach Ertz, Keenan Allen, or even Damien Williams or Marlon Mack, depending on because right now Damien Williams is going after Todd Gurley in a lot of leagues. So it's I would much rather go with the safer pick, and all those guys, in my opinion, are safer picks than Todd Gurley. And I might grab Todd Gurley in about 5 to 10% of leagues, maybe, if in 10% of leagues where he falls to me in that specific position. But I'm not going to go any higher than that, because you don't want to lose your bell cow running back. But he's worth a flyer in some, because obviously he put up the most points in fantasy almost. It's a lot of risk.
With your first few picks with running backs, that's when the most successful picks are. As the draft goes lower, obviously there's going to be less success rate, but
more
it's
risk.
Just more risk for sure. But it's just, you want to be hitting on your top couple backs that you draft. You don't want a bunch of, is this guy going to be good? Is he not?
Going to league, go into the entire season stressed out because you're will my starting running back hold up? That's not something you want to feel.
Yeah, and kind of around this area, like you said, there's a lot of receivers. So I draft a lot of receivers above these 2 or 3 guys, and it's the same with Todd Gurley. I'd rather go receiver than Gurley. The only reason you would ever go Gurley in the draft is if you get round 3 and he's still there. If Gurley's there in round 3, then you can think about taking him. I think if he's in round 2, you can't take him at all. It's got to be round 3, and you just have to really like him above some of the players 100%. That are there. So it's really situational on who's there.
100%. And then I feel the same way on Nick Chubb, though. I really hate his situation. Hey, first 10 weeks we know he's the starter. He's going to put up some points for you. Everything's going to be hunky-dory, and it'll be great. I'm not sold on it yet. I think Nick Chubb's a fantastic back, but I also, after week 10, he's going to have Kareem Hunt to contend with, and Kareem Hunt has proven that he's a great running back in the league. I don't like him personally as a human. He's an amazing back in the league, and he's going to be taking a ton of Nick Chubb's work, and Nick Chubb's going to be holding down
potentially.
In my humble opinion, and why would I want to lose one of my starting running backs for playoffs? One of my top 3 picks for playoffs. Or lose half of my top 3 running backs for playoffs or top 3 picks.
Yeah, and that's the main thing with Nick Chubb. I don't like him just because of that. He's pretty good when he's on the field, as we know, but I don't want him. That's just a lot of risk. And if I'm drafting Nick Chubb, I'm probably going to try to target Kareem Hunt. If you get Nick Chubb getting Kareem Hunt and you can throw him on an IR spot, if your league has an IR spot, then you're good. If you don't have that spot, it's kind of harder to do, because then you're just wasting your bench spot for the whole year.
No point in that. I would draft Kareem Hunt.
At that point, you don't want to draft him. But if you have a free spot for him, like an IR, that would be good for Kareem Hunt. and then you can feel a little safer about that. But
yeah,
there's just too much risk later on in the year for him.
As you can see, I got an entire tier above those two guys, and like that's where I think they should be drafted. Like I don't have an issue with drafting them, but like where I want to draft them, they're not going to be available anymore. By that point, by the time Dalvin Cook, Melvin Gordon, and Marlon Mack are gone, well, not Melvin Gordon obviously because he gets drafted way higher, but after all those guys that are above him get drafted, they're going to be gone already. So it's like I would much rather go with those guys, Derrick Henry, Chris Carson, all those guys below him, just because.
I agree, and I probably won't get Chubb or Gurley this year just because he'll be gone before I want to draft them. Starting off the top of my list and his list, we have Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, he's just a beast when he's on the field. We all know that he can be a beast, but he's never healthy. Even in college, he wasn't healthy. Why is this year any different? Huge injury concerns. Like I think the Vikings want to run the ball a little bit more this year too, which is good, but at the same time, is he going to get injured? There's a good chance.
One thing I wrote in my notes was he can get anywhere from 0 to 350 touches. I think it's crazy that I don't know that you can go into a season thinking that he could not play in any game at all, and then it'd just be over.
Yeah, he could just get injured week 1. I guess
or he could be elite, or he could be a top tier running back in the league and
yes.
Crush it.
So another thing with him is if you're gonna draft him, maybe you might want to get his backup, Alexander Madison. So they drafted him this year as a rookie. He's supposed to be pretty good. If Dalvin Cook gets injured, that guy's gonna be a full workhorse probably. So,
yeah, if they don't grab somebody off waivers or something, but
I think
now,
they're comfortable with him, so I think he's going to be the guy to go with.
Because they drafted him early, right? Wasn't he the second or third running back taken or something? I don't know.
I want to say he was 30th round. He's supposed to be pretty good. I think that he's for sure the backup. If Cook goes down, he's going to get a lot of playing time. So if you draft Cook, you want to get the backup for Cook, for sure.
The main concerns, obviously, that we have with Cook is injury. And then my other one concern with him is that he sucks with the stacked box. As soon as 7 or more defenders get in the box, his yards per carry goes down to 2. So he really struggles with that because he doesn't have a ton of power. He's a little light. He's a little, and he can't really hold up. So if they stack the box, he's pretty SOL, and they don't have a crazy receiving core either to pull the pressure off.
But they do though. It's Adam Thielen and Diggs. That could be enough to persuade the defense to back up a little bit.
That's a good point.
And he is a receiving back too.
But Kirk Cousins though, you know what I'm saying?
Kirk Cousins sucks. I don't like Thielen or Diggs as much this year just because I think he sucks. But with that being said, they're still really good receivers. He should get a little less pressure because of them. He is a receiving back though too. He can receive. So that's the one good thing too, is if he is getting no yards in the running game, at least he can get something in the passing game. So you might get 15 points from him one week. It could be 50 yards rushing. Maybe 70 yards,
75,
maybe 50 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
So he could definitely make it up in the receiving game for sure.
He's gonna. I think he's gonna crush it this year if he stays healthy, stays on the field. But
the thing is just all health basically for him. No other concerns for me besides just health.
And I think he's Joe Mixon light basically. He's gonna put up a shit ton of points, but he needs to stay healthy. Whereas Joe Mixon, you don't have those concerns. So it's literally I think they're very similar players. And then Joe Mixon's faster. But
next on my list, I got Marlon Mack. So you're a huge Mack fan. Why do you like Mack?
Mack's just an absolute monster, man. They're all saying that he's the starter, he's the main guy.
Mack is Mack.
I think he struggles with receiving upside historically, but he's 10th in big runs per game, 10th in touches, 15th in carries, and 16.2 per game. But in the last 4 games, he averaged 20 plus carries a game, which is everything that we want from Mack. He absolutely crushed it. With his size, there's no he can do that stuff weekly. So that's pretty much what I have for him. I think that he's a big dude. He can get the job done. And he might struggle in the passing game. I think that he's going to put up workhorse numbers. I really do. There's worries that Nyheim Hines is going to take some of his workload.
For receiving, really.
I don't see that happening myself. My personal opinion. There's no stats to back this up aside from the coaches saying Marlon Mack's our guy. I take that at face value. We're gonna have to wait until preseason to see if he starts in week 3. See what he plays, how he plays. As of now, Marlon Mack is a stud on my board. I have him right in tier 3 because I think that he fits in perfectly with those 3 other guys. I think Melvin Gordon and Dalvin Cook are better, but I think that Marlon Mack can put up crazy numbers.
I think he's good for sure. It's just the receiving kind of concerns me a little bit. Full point PPR, you might throw him a little farther down.
For sure.
But then again, not really because
tier
4 is really kind of not that good, and we'll get into that later. But
I might put Nick Chubb and stuff above him though, if in full point. I don't know. Nick Chubb gets some receptions,
he gets
right?
a little bit more, I think. After last year, Marlon Mack almost got just as many, 3 less.
Yeah, 3
less targets as well. So
you can't complain about that. He's priced in a good spot, I think. I think I like Chris Carson a little bit more, maybe. No, Chris Carson was 20 receptions too. See, I don't know what I'm talking about. They're all in the same tier, in a way.
At this point, there's nobody. These guys aren't really crazy receiving backs. These are just running backs at this point. Main concern for me is just we don't have too much sample size like we had last year, but last year, he kind of a little inconsistent. He had a couple blow-up games, a couple games where he had maybe like 5 points or something. You can get games scripted out, and then he's just not as good.
Because their team is really strong, and they throw the ball a lot.
And yeah, so they got Funchess in there now. They have Jack Doyle. I'm not saying Funchess is a beast or Doyle's a beast,
but I think Andrew Luck can make them a beast. You know what I'm saying?
Andrew Luck can help them get like that. That's more touchdowns right there.
He's a solid player.
Thrown, so that could take a little bit of work from Mack. But it also could get him more red zone opportunities if they get down the red. So you just never know how these things are going to affect him.
I mean, Andrew Luck was the best quarterback in the 2012 draft. Like, we can all agree on that, right? Unless you talk about Russell Wilson.
RG Needs, man. He's the
RG
beast.
Needs, yeah. Best for NFC East people that aren't the Redskins. But, yeah, so, I mean, Marlon Mack's insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for Mack. At this point, we're starting tier 4. And
You got Fournette at the top of tier 4.
I got Fournette at the top for tier 4. Just because, like, he's a beast when he's healthy. Problem is, his ankles are eating him away right now, and that's why he's having hamstring issues and all these other issues in his like lower body because of his ankles. That's the problem. It's just really risky picking him with injury. However, the thing is he's always been playing against a stacked box because Bortles. This year he has Foles. I love Foles. Is he gonna, how does that help their offense? We don't know how good Foles is gonna be. I think he's gonna be good. And he also has a guy that used to be, I believe, the quarterback coach for the Eagles, and so they kind of know each other. So I think they're going to have a good fit there. That's going to open up some running lanes for him. It's just whether or not he's healthy, and that's the main concern for him.
I was actually really high on him earlier in the season, and I got faced with a really tough decision in my Dynasty League, was trading Leonard Fournette for Marlon Mack and a couple of fourth-round draft picks. I really had to think this one through, and everybody was like, dude, just take the deal. Marlon Mack's a better running back anyway. You're fine, blah, 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 blah. And I was like really struggling to get rid of Leonard Fournette because I feel like if he has an amazing season, this is going to be that season. And if it's not this season, he's not going to be running back in the league anymore, really. I think he's going to basically quit because his ligaments are eating themselves. He's getting wrecked by injury. And the last time that we'd seen him in a full season was 2015. That was 2 years before he even got in the league. So his senior year of college, or like senior as far as like playing, he missed like half the season. And then the year before that was the year that he last played a full season. So it's hard to really like rally around a guy with one of your early draft picks that hasn't seen a full season since I was a senior in high school, which feels like a century ago. So it's like it's tough for me to put him there, and that's the one reason why I have him lower on my board. I'm not drafting him. He's a do not draft for me, just like Nick Chubb.
I'm not trying to draft him, but if the price is right, I'm going to take him. And that kind of goes with everybody in tier 4, except for Chris Carson, maybe Josh Jacobs and David Montgomery, some more exceptions to that rule. But when it comes to Leonard Fournette, Freeman, and Aaron Jones, we all kind of have injury concerns. Aaron Jones, not quite as much for injury concerns, I don't think, because he doesn't have a huge history.
Well, he plays the Bears twice a year.
Yeah, record-wise or division-wise,
he plays some really tough defenses.
Yeah,
he plays some very tough defenses in divisional games, and so that's an issue for me.
Yeah, I just don't trust him.
The Vikings, the Bears, like
it's just hard for me to trust the Green Bay Packers running back, to be honest. I'm just not a huge fan. I liked him last year, and I even got him last year based off the value where he's going, but I think he's going slightly too high this year. And there's some receivers I would love to take at this point in the draft. I probably wouldn't take Jones either.
Statistically, he's not as good as I remember. Like, I had him on my team, and I felt like he was an absolute monster. And then I went back and looked at the stats, and I was like, oh, he was all right. He wasn't great. It sucked losing him in playoffs, like I was talking about earlier. So
he has some really good yards per carry actually too. It was like 5.5 yards per carry. Yeah. And a lot of that too is just Aaron Rodgers is going to back the defense up for sure. So
and he's smart.
You don't have to worry about this stacked box with him.
Aaron Rodgers is very smart, and he can get a defense to do some crazy things. So, and that's like where most of his upside comes from.
Yeah, if he's healthy for the whole year, he's probably going to be decent for you. It's a little hard for me to draft him, but if the price is right, I'll get him. That's kind of where I'm at with all these guys. So Freeman, same thing. He's kind of like similar to Fournette. I think he actually has some sort of ankle problems as well, or I don't know. He's got some sort of problems where that's why he got a hamstring issue. I don't know. His lower body is a little messed up as well, so the probability of him getting re-injured again is kind of higher. Another problem with Freeman is that he runs like Marshawn Lynch. The problem is he's 5'10". He's not as big as Lynch, but he runs like that, and so he's going to get banged up because of how hard he runs. That's even more risk for him to get injured. So there's a high probability he's going to get injured again. But if that doesn't happen, I mean, we've seen him in the past blow up for about 2, maybe 3 years. Mm-hmm. But 2 really good years. And you could have a top pick.
I literally just don't even know what to expect with him, to be completely honest.
At this point, it's really weird. And I was with Shanahan. He has a different coach now there. So that could affect him a lot, too.
He could do He could do anything, bro. He could do like literally anything. We haven't seen him in so long.
There's just upside, but there's a lot of downside. It's really just it's tough to say with him. These three guys right here that I have back to back are all really risky, and that's probably why you have him farther down on your list for sure.
Yeah, because I'm super risk averse in the first couple rounds. If there's a guy that I even like can sniff out like any issue whatsoever, I just avoid him because there's no point in risking your entire draft. Every once in a while, like let's say you're doing 30 drafts, then by all means go grab one of those guys in one of those drafts. Go grab each of them at least once just to say that you have them, and just in case they do blow up, you at least win one league. If you're just doing one draft a year and you're like, oh man, I really need to win, just grab the safe picks. Grab the Joe Mixon, grab the Christian McCaffreys through whatever. If you get a top 4 pick, all those guys. You just want to pick safe like picks early on rather than spazzing out.
And I actually love Chris Carson this year. I like him, Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, kind of better than I like these other guys above him. The guys above him are that's kind of just their ADP, and that's just where they should be drafted. And they have a little bit more upside than these other guys on the bottom. However, I just feel more comfortable drafting the other guys. And that's exactly why I would probably draft a receiver going into tier 4 and then end up trying to get Chris Carson on the wraparound.
And it really depends on your placement in the draft, honestly. Like, don't reach too far like in down in drafts because you can get great value at wide receiver, and then on the wraparound grab somebody like you were just saying, like grab somebody decent.
And that's the thing with Chris Carson too, is he might not get the most receptions, and he does have a little bit of a history of getting injured, so there's a slight concern there. But he's going to be a beast. We all know that the Seahawks like to run the ball. Last year they had over 2,000 yards rushing. That's not including Russell Wilson stats. So between all the different running backs they had 2,000 yards. So if you have concerns about Penny starting over him, there's really not too much concern because even if Penny did start over him, he's still going to get his share of the carries, which isn't going to happen. Chris Carson's going to be the guy. But Penny is still valuable because he's still going to get a ton of carries because they're going to have 2 really good backs this year. I think they're going to have 2 really good backs to produce in fantasy.
I'm really excited for Chris Carson, and I'm going to be honest, he's one of my top options, all right? Because the dude, I mean, he's decently fast. He's got great burst. He is very strong. He had 20 carries per game at the end of the season when he had the backfield to himself. Plus, he's got DK Metcalf, who's going to spread the field out a little bit for him this year, and so he's going to get some more yards. Like, the dude just he doesn't have a lot of downside. The only fear is obviously
injury too. That's another downside.
I mean,
a lot of people don't like his. I don't have too big of an issue with his injury history, but a lot of people do have a fear of that.
I'm not scared of it with him. I think if you're going to be scared of it with somebody, then you have to be scared of it with like Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Todd Gurley, like those guys. Like I think those guys are more injury risk than him.
A lot more injury risk. It's just slight injury risk for Carson.
Yeah, he has slight injury risk, but when you're talking, your second or third running back.
Yeah, at this point, this far down on the list, it's okay. He's really good value.
All these guys have their risks, so it's like you have to take a risk somewhere. But I would take the risk on him more than I would take the risk on somebody else because his upside is like top 10 running back upside.
We saw how he finished the year last year. He was like top 3, top 4 back after like the last 4 weeks.
Yeah,
I think it was like last 4 weeks.
Absolutely insane.
It was like Elliot, somebody else, and then him. Right? Like he was
up there, man.
He was really up there. And also, another thing going against the injury concern, in the playoffs he started as well. So having him play in the playoffs and that extended season, that kind of helps him in terms of him not getting injured. Like, we don't have much fear anymore because of that. Like, it kind of lowers the fear even lower.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
He's an exciting prospect to watch. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So one guy I had above him, though, and technically I don't think I actually have him above him. I think it's like flip-flop. You can have either one there, is Derrick Henry. So we've been talking about like risk the entire time, and this guy's risky as hell, but the numbers are all there, all right? He had like the best yards per carry with the stack box. He had a stack box more often than anybody else in the league. He had more guys in the box than any guy in the league on average. Like it was like 7.7 guys in the box on average or something on all of his carries. The dude still crushed it in yards per carry. He had like 4.9 yards per carry, all right? So the dude crushed it. Absolutely insane. He's 248 pounds, 6'3". The dude's massive. I get why everybody's like fading him so hard because he's screwed people over the past 3 years. Like
every year he's supposed to be the guy.
Yeah.
Then he doesn't get it done.
But look where he's being drafted.
He won me my league last year because I picked him up.
Yeah.
I still don't like him that much though, and that's why he's my honorable mention.
Yeah.
You're talking about the yards per carry last year, and a lot of that is kind of skewed, I think, a little bit by a couple of big games he had. And
for sure,
that's where a lot of his fantasy numbers came in because I don't think he had over 50 yards for a while. Last year he was not doing good at all.
He wasn't being used that much though.
So he had 13 games though. He had double-digit carries, and his line he was 9th overall in run blocking.
The statistic that I pulled said that while he was on the field, the run blocking was trash, and so that's my biggest concern. Is they were saying that he had the best run blocking or whatever. He had like 9th best run blocking or whatever. But I don't see that. The statistic I was looking at said that for him, He was the 52nd best running back blocked for, which is pretty bad. So there's 51 other running backs that are blocked for better than when he was on the field getting blocked for. And also, like I said, 7.4 guys in the box every single time that he was on the field because they saw him and they were like, oh no, it's Derrick Henry. And so I have an issue.
That's a problem though too, is that it's Marcus Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of Mariota. I don't think he's that great. Always injured as well. So if he gets injured, that's not gonna help Derrick Henry at all.
Yeah.
And their receiving core is a little stronger than it was with some of the additions they made. Also, the tight ends coming back, Delaney Walker, that might help, but I'm still not a fan of the quarterback situation, so I still think the box is going to be stacked against him. And another thing with him is he wasn't paid this last year, and I believe this is his last year on this contract. So if the Tennessee Titans really liked him, I think that they would try to get the deal done before he has a big year so they can minimize the cost rather than waiting. So that could be a case right there.
It could be, but they've flat out said that they like him better than Dion. So it's like,
I mean, he's definitely going to be starting. They definitely like him, but better than the guys on their roster. But how much do they really like him long term?
Yeah, and they might not like him long term, but I think that he's worth a look. And I think in that spot, if you're going to risk on somebody, I think Chris Carson, Aaron Jones, or Derrick Henry are great picks. I think Derrick Henry could explode and be one of the top running backs in the league if the rest of the offense can get their shit together and get the ball downfield and kind of give him some space. Because if they empty that box out a little bit, you get to let's say 6.6 guys on average in the box even, drop it down by one, then they start airing it out a little bit, and then he gets some openings, then he's going to be an insane running back. I think he's fast enough, he's strong enough, and he's hard enough to tackle that he's going to be getting some yards and some touchdowns.
Yeah, with him, I actually watched that video. He talked to some ex-football player. I forgot who it was. It might have been Eric Dixon. I'm not quite sure who it was. And in that video, he kind of mentioned how he wasn't utilizing his side. He realized that his NFL career could be done pretty much if he doesn't start getting it done. And so at the end of the year, he started turning it up in the league. And a lot of that was because of that meeting he had, which basically he learned, hey, I'm not using my size. I should be running over these guys. I'm bigger. So I think that's another reason why he kind of went off at the end of the year. And so that could be... Yeah, so that could be a realization that he had that could help him in the next year. So I think in terms of this next year, there's a better chance of him doing well than last year. I didn't like him last year either, so I think this year I like him definitely better than last year.
Yeah.
And I do like him a lot better than guys like Fournette and all these injury concerned guys. I don't like those guys at all. But Derrick Henry, I don't have a problem taking if the price is right. It's just slight risk because which Henry are you going to get? The guy that gets you 5 points a week or the guy that blows up for 40?
Well, it's interesting because they have him at their 19th overall or whatever. I have him at my 16th, something like that. And then you've got him not even on your top 20.
He might be.
He's not on your radar. Where would you put him on your list?
With him and Josh Jacobs and David Montgomery are all interchangeable in my opinion.
Okay. So that's where you
at this point of the draft, this is where I'm looking to get my second, maybe third running back, maybe even a backup if I took that many, but generally my second or third running back. I'm trying to get Chris Carson, I'll try to get Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, or David Montgomery. Those are the guys I'm looking for. If I get one of those 4 guys, I'm happy. And we haven't even talked much about Josh Jacobs or David Montgomery yet.
I know.
With David Montgomery, he's going to be a starter, right? So I don't think there's too much concern there. He's just a starting running back in the NFL, right? The problem with him is you got Cohen taking away targets.
Well, and you got Mike Davis too.
No, Mike Davis went to the. He's there now.
Bears,
yeah, he's there now.
Mike Davis is Bears. There's a lot of running backs.
So that's assuming he wins the job, which is still not handed to him.
They're saying it's his, but it's a committee. It's going to be a committee.
Yeah, it's just weird because we don't know what to expect. I guess at this point.
Week 3 preseason will change everything. So after that, all this information that we're giving you is going to be bullshit. But right now,
he's just really up in the air.
Yeah.
But assuming he's the starter, he's going to be solid. He might not have that many receiving touches because Cohen is just a beast. They're going to use Tariq Cohen.
Yeah.
So that could limit his upside for full PPR.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Jacobs, problem with him is how good is he?
How good is he? Yeah.
Alabama, they clearly didn't think he was that good if he was only started his senior year, right? That was his first starting year.
Well, statistically, it was bad, yeah.
And so, he might not be that good of a running back. We don't know. He's going to be a starter, and that's why he's going this high, and that's why I'm okay with drafting him, because of volume-wise. If you're not going to be good, at least have volume. And so, if he's got volume, that kind of backs it up. He's also a receiving back, so that could help.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be a workhorse. We already know that.
Yeah, it's just...
Pretty much.
Is he going to...
100%.
Well, you just don't know much about him. Is he going to hold up? Is he going to workhorse?
Yeah.
Because he didn't have that much volume in college, right?
So, what I wrote for him in my notes was there's no reason that he shouldn't be an insane running back, he will workhorse back, whatever. But the statistics that I was reading on him were really, really bad, and they go as such. So I absolutely hated his game film. That's not a statistic. That's just me watching his game film and looking at it and going, wow, this guy doesn't look like that powerful, that great of a runner, all right? But then I continue looking at statistics, all right? He ran a 4.69 at the combine. That's really kind of shitty for a starting workhorse running back.
First round running back, honestly.
Yeah, for a first round running back. It's not that good. So they calculated that as a 30th percentile weight adjusted speed score. So with his weight involved and all that other stuff. And he's 220, so that's giving him some additional whatever. He was really, really weak at the combine, so he wasn't lifting. He didn't hit that hard compared to the other running backs. He has minimal burst. There was just nothing. There was nothing that I saw in his game tape or in the combine that made me think, wow, this guy's going to be an elite talent. The only thing was that he played for Alabama, so he did play against some harder teams, and that Gruden drafted him. And so if Gruden drafted him, he's going to be starting, he's going to be playing. But it's just at
this point, you're drafting him for straight volume.
Yeah,
because he's a starter. A starting running back in the NFL is valuable in general.
Well, that's technically what you do with Melvin Gordon, though, right? Because Melvin Gordon's yards per carry isn't insane, but he gets 320 touches.
It's kind of the same.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon's yards per carry last year were good, but generally it's not. He's more of a volume boost guy.
Well, last year Melvin Gordon had 225 touches or whatever. The year before he had 320 touches.
Yeah,
which is insane. And that's
also Mike Williams and some of the guys they had helped maybe open the box. I'm not sure. It could have helped.
Mike Williams is he's a good talent. He's a good player. I think he's going to be insane.
So I guess he kind of compares to Melvin Gordon. Maybe not the best player, but volume to give him really high numbers. It's really kind of tough to judge rookies in general. But that's where Josh Jacobs fits in.
I just can't. I was on the Josh Jacobs bandwagon, and I drafted him in so many leagues, and now I'm regretting it. I got those post-draft regrets because I actually went in, looked at the research, and it wasn't what I was excited for. It wasn't what I was thinking when I was drafting him. So I would say fade until we see something from him, until we see him in some
definitely
form.
If you're drafting after the preseason or after the third week, which a lot of people do, that could help a lot. Definitely tune into the preseason and see how that goes.
That's the most important part, is week 3 of the preseason, week 2 of the preseason, all that stuff. So
yeah, so that'll tell us a lot. But he's definitely going to be volume, and he definitely could do good because of his volume. Mm-hmm. Also, if you have Antonio Brown on one side of the field, you can't really stack the box. So that should help him out.
Technically not possible. And they also got that new tight end that they're really excited about, Darren Waller.
Yeah, and Tyrell Williams touches the field. So you can't stack the box against him. That's the one good thing he has. He should be in some good situations.
We'll see. Let's see. It'll be exciting because, with Dalvin Cook or whatever, they stack the box a lot against him because Kirk Cousins just can't throw. So at the same time, while you say that, Derek Carr, I don't think is very good. I think he's just about as good as Kirk Cousins. So by the way, I keep Kirk Cousins really low on my board because I don't know if you see this, but yeah, I think Josh Jacobs could do decent. So. But not. I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm not drafting him really. I think that's a good spot for him, but he's getting drafted before that, so most times you're not going to see him that far down.
I definitely prefer to target Chris Carson for sure.
Yeah,
if I get Chris Carson in every league, I'll be happy.
In that tier, I think he's the number one guy, clear cut.
Yeah.
Rashad Penny's the one that freaks me out with him, but I think he's a steal.
Yeah, so going on honorable mentions, we kind of some guys that we wanted to talk about or explain why they didn't make our top 4.
We kind of talked about a few of them, but
Sony Michel was one that we didn't really talk much about, and a lot of people are a little higher on him than we are. As you can see, he's kind of in tier 4 of fantasy pros, so
yeah, he's very high up there.
He's kind of higher up there. My problem with Sony Michel is, first of all, injury. Not even that so much as just that he doesn't get receptions at all. On my list here, he had 7 receptions last year. That's pretty terrible. So full point PPR, he's trash.
Yeah, because James White takes all the receptions.
That's all James White's good for. That's all James White. So you're not going to get receptions out of him.
He's not tapping into that market.
If they're behind in a game, it's going to be all James White, and it won't be that much Sony Michel. Maybe he gets a touchdown, maybe he gets a long run. So there could be really bad consistency problems with him. And also, that doesn't even factor in one of the main issues with his health.
Didn't they draft a running back too?
And they drafted a running back, yeah.
All right.
So they drafted Damien Harris.
Yeah.
So now they have even more depth at the position. So if he messes up, you know how Belichick pulls out his running backs if he doesn't like what they're doing.
I don't know. Sony Michel's a Pats running back, and frankly, I will never. It's in the fantasy guidelines book on page 333. You never draft a Patriots running back.
High up, at least.
For me, ever. But that's
it's just hard because it varies week to week because Belichick always changes everything up. Each week he's going to attack our defense differently.
In a best ball league, I will say draft him all day long because they will have a week where they blow up.
He's going to have some weeks for sure if he's not injured by then.
Yep.
It's just lack of receptions for me. I play half point PPR, so this is kind of what the list is based off of. Half point.
I normally don't play half point, but
he likes full point.
So
that makes it even worse for him because full point.
Yeah, disgusting.
We're just not that high on him, so I kind of like guys ahead of him. So that's why he didn't make top point for me. And another guy we didn't put in there, Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson has an interesting situation. He's last year he got injured, so maybe he has some concerns there. The good thing is he can receive. So you're not going to game script him out too much. But they do have some other running backs there. Like they got C.J. Anderson now.
Yeah.
So
touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's all C.J. Anderson's good for.
Yeah. Theo Riddick's there for receptions, or he was. I'm not sure if he might not even make the roster at this point, but
he should.
But Kerryon Johnson,
I like him in
he
Dynasty.
has a lot of potential.
I like him in Dynasty. I hate him in redraft. He's a loose cannon. We don't know what's going to come from him. We don't know if he's going to get any. Well, we know he's going to get points. We don't know if he's going to get the points that he's going for on ADP wise.
I think with Kerryon Johnson, he has higher ceiling than maybe the guys going around him.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot lower floor than the guys going around him.
For sure. I think that's exactly it.
And that's kind of the same thing with Derrick Henry. He's kind of like in the Derrick Henry where like, if he hits, you're going to be happy. But if he doesn't hit and he misses, it's
Derrick Henry does that 1 week that he like blew up against like whatever schmuck team, and then he does that all season long. He's the best running back in the league, but obviously we know that's not going to happen. We gotta balance
go
it
against
out.
the Jaguars, and then I believe the Giants right after. So
and we all know how that is. If you beat if you score a few touchdowns on the Jaguars, then you're just gonna be running all game garbage time. So going against Blake Bortles, you don't have to worry about nothing. But so Kerryon Johnson I think is
he's high ceiling, low
floor. Yeah. He's just risk.
He's risk.
He's a little risk ball.
I think his floor is a little higher than Derrick Henry's floor. Because if Henry doesn't do what he should do, 5 points every week. Johnson, I can see him getting like 7 points every week.
What do you think as far as yards is Kerryon Johnson's like low for the season?
Well, last year, I believe he played 10 games and he got 641. And he averaged 5.4 a carry.
Do you think that's about as low?
I mean, definitely that could be as low for sure. He's not going to get less than that if he plays the full season.
Yeah.
He could definitely have 1,000 yards for sure. Touchdown wise, he had 3 last year. So how many touchdowns is he gonna get?
I think he could have 1,100 yards if he plays well.
For sure. Yards is not gonna be the issue for him if he's healthy. He's gonna get his yards when he's healthy, I think.
Touchdowns is gonna be
harder though, because the Lions' offense is really unpredictable.
Would they throw the ball?
Loaded the backfield, but like
Kenny
Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, got that tight ends now for days. So
that's tough.
How often are they gonna get to the red zone? Because the Lions, they always struggle.
They have Hawk, huh?
Yeah, Hawkinson, Jesse James.
Yeah, so
it's
a lot of touchdowns.
They got some touchdown opportunity for the tight ends now, so it really just depends. He's risk for sure.
Yeah.
Another guy I have on my honorable mentions, Mark Ingram. You don't even have him anywhere. So how do you feel about him?
I didn't even like Mark Ingram when he was on the Saints. So when he blew up last year or whatever, when he did decent when he came back, I was like, oh man, I was wrong. It's I don't want to give you guys a projection on Mark Ingram just because I don't draft him myself, and I think that he could be decent, but I just
So last year everybody was going into the year drafting Alex Collins. It was, do I pick Ajayi or Alex Collins? That tier. It was which one do I pick, right?
Last year. Yeah, I don't remember.
So last year, he was the guy, right? He was going 4th round, right? I think it was 4th or 5th round. He's supposed to be the guy. He didn't do nothing. So I think Mark Ingram going into this year, I like Mark Ingram's talent better than I like Alex Collins. So I'm not worried about him starting. I think he will be the starting running back there. But I think that they have a history of kind of doing a committee. So he could still end up in a committee where he's the lead guy in the committee. So I like him better than pretty much most of the Raven running backs that have been here in the past. But he's kind of risky because for one, their quarterback Lamar Jackson, I almost said Miller, but Lamar Jackson, he's
he might open the field up.
Well, he's good for running. So running, he's going to help Mark Ingram in the fact that you don't know who's running. But at the same time, how good is his arm? I thought was the main concern with Lamar.
But you think of RG3 his first year or whatever, and he got a guy like Alfred Morris to run for what
Yeah, and the weapons aren't really
yards,
there though
1,200
either.
yards?
But the weapons aren't really there either. So it's who are you really that scared of on their offense? So, so they could stack the box against them. There's some things for sure going against him.
They have a new wide receiver too. They have Marquise Brown or something.
Yeah, they got Marquise Brown. So they got some tight ends, but
a lot of question marks in those offenses.
It's really questionable for sure.
Mark Ingram still got something to tank though.
I still think Mark Ingram's a good running back.
Yeah,
I like Mark Ingram. I just don't know how well I like the fit. And it's just going to come down to, is he starting more than a lot of the guys on their team? How bad is the committee?
How many games was he suspended last year? Was it 4?
He was suspended 4
So it was 4, and he still had 800 all-purpose yards. So, I mean, he could put up some numbers.
He's a solid player.
He doesn't have Alvin Kamara stealing his carries. So
I don't really have any injury concerns with him. Maybe a little bit, but not really, because he did get injured a couple of years ago. I believe his shoulder or something. But he's not really injury. Yeah. So
even though he's an older guy,
I think he's just a safe player all around. It's just the offense.
He's safe.
It's just the offense.
That's the word. That's the word for Mark Ingram is safe.
Safe in terms of maybe where you draft him,
but not
later on.
Yeah, not safe in ADP where he's going.
I wouldn't take him. It's kind of hard to take him where he's going, but a little farther down for sure all day.
So that's why they're in the mentions, because they're just guys that we like, but
not bad.
Well, some of them we like.
Not bad, but. Yeah. And then I got last to round it out, Phillip Lindsay. I only put him in there just because generally he's a top 20 guy.
It's a hot topic right there.
Yeah, so
because some people are saying Royce Freeman is gonna like come out of his shell and he's gonna be like the best running back that's ever hit the streets, and I don't see that happening myself. But I have both of them in Dynasty, and those are the only 2 leagues where I have either of them. And I have both of them in the same one because there's a lot of risk in both those players. Phillip Lindsay, I loved as a runner. I thought he was very exciting to watch, but there was also news that Royce Freeman wasn't getting blocked for, like that stat I gave for Derrick Henry earlier, that he wasn't getting blocked for in the same way that Phillip Lindsay was getting blocked for. And part of that might be running style. Maybe they just run differently and the line can't block for him as well or something. I don't know. But
yeah, maybe it might be quicker or something.
Yeah,
because he's a quicker guy.
I don't know. Phillip Lindsay's fun to watch though. If you watched him play,
Phillip Lindsay's definitely good.
1,000 yards in a year where he wasn't expected to start.
Yeah, how much can he hold up though, durability wise? If he is like a bell cow guy, which he's not going to be anyway, so that's not really a concern because he's just not that bell cow guy. Because it could just be a timeshare, man. It could be really equal between the 2 guys. Receiving wise, I think he's a pretty good receiver.
But of all the guys,
35 balls, but
of all the guys we mentioned, he had the second most yards per carry last year. Out of all the guys we mentioned, the only guy that had more yards per carry than him was Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
which is crazy. More than Saquon, more than Ezekiel, more than Christian McCaffrey, more than Alvin Kamara, all of them. And so that's a reason why I think I like him a little bit.
The problem with him, opportunity is not going to be there, obviously, as much as like an Elliot for sure.
Oh yeah.
But he's more of a Kamara type of guy where he still can get those good stats and be efficient without the volume. It's just better to draft for volume sometimes, and if you have volume and efficiency all in one, then you're going to be a beast. And that's pretty much like Elliot. That's why Elliott's my number 1 guy, just because he's efficient and he's just going to get a lot of work. So when you have both of those combined, that's like a perfect situation.
Yeah, and if I knew that Zeke wasn't going to hold out, he would be my number 1 also, just in case we were... I didn't make that clarification earlier, but just to backtrack, if you've stayed with us this long, Ezekiel Elliott is my number 1 if he doesn't hold out. So to continue, there's 2 more guys on the list. We got Darrell Henderson and Adrian Peterson. Darrell Henderson, we all know the story with him. He's Todd Gurley's backup, in quotes. I really, really like him. I think that people are drafting him really, really high. And word to Nick Ercolano, he was talking about the other day, Darrell Henderson might not even be the second string guy. It's probably Malcolm Brown. That's what scares me a little bit. Like as soon as he opened his mouth and said that, it freaked me out. And now I've been backtracking from Darrell Henderson a little bit. Darrell Henderson, he was the one guy when I watched his game tape, I was like, whoa, this dude's an absolute monster. He's insane. And I was like, wow, look how bad his line is also. And like, then I went back and like watched the game tape again, like once Nick Ercolano said all this, and I was like, wait, no, his line was actually damn good, and that's why he was so good. Plus, he played for Memphis, and so he was playing against all these like trash teams in comparison to like what a lot of those Alabama players were playing against. I think he's a monstrous player. He runs standing up a little bit, but he's an absolutely insane player. But we don't even know if he's going to be the backup guy, and he's getting drafted as if he's the starting running back for the Rams. And so I think that he's got to move down people's draft boards a little bit. I really like him as a player. I really hope that he succeeds, but I don't want the same exact thing that happened to me last year when I grabbed in my dynasty leagues. I grabbed John Kelly. John Kelly was like the guy I was like, oh, he's gonna be Todd Gurley's backup. This dude's insane. I watched his game tape. It was the best game tape out of any rookie running back. And I was sitting there watching his game tape, and I'm like, this dude's a legend. Like, how the hell could he not be Todd Gurley's backup? And then once we got down to the stretch, and Todd Gurley ended up like getting injured or whatever, Malcolm Brown or C.J. Anderson or whatever jumped in, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Where's John Kelly? And John Kelly wasn't even suiting up for games. So don't get your hopes up if Darrell Henderson doesn't play.
Talent-wise, he should.
Talent-wise,
he should.
In my opinion,
for
yeah.
sure. That's why I was a late round guy. That's why I put late round on him, because don't draft him early. Draft him later on. If you're a Todd Gurley owner in this league, like if you draft Todd Gurley, you kind of have to grab him.
Well, red flag. Look at Fantasy
hurts.
Pros list.
Yeah.
Look at Fantasy. Do you see him anywhere near in like any of those spots or whatever? No, he's not, because they don't have him as high as a lot of other people do.
Yeah, so he's a later round guy that I would feel comfortable drafting in the late rounds. It's just a shot in the dark, because if Todd Gurley gets injured the whole year, it doesn't play that much, he could be the guy. Even if Malcolm Brown is the starter after Todd Gurley gets injured, or as the backup, I think that Darrell Henderson could get a lot of play time. Because if Todd Gurley got injured for the year, didn't play, he's just going to be the better running back, I think. The one concern with him, though, is that he already kind of mentioned the teams weren't the best that he played against, but he's more of a one-cut runner. He's kind of like, he cuts one,
He cuts and they
and
run
then he just
straight.
goes straight.
Yeah.
So his ability might not be the best, but he hits the hole like Chris Johnson.
But he runs hard, dude. He runs so hard. You could tell every single play that you watch in his highlight reel, it's him just like making one cut and then he explodes and burns. You just like chuck it. So I like
how much does that help him though, or like how does it affect him if his hole's not there?
Yeah.
Is he just gonna be trash or what's gonna happen? It's just.
And there's some guys that run like 4.7s and then they turn around and run 4.4 speed in the game because like they just run harder, you know. And so I think that he's one of those guys that's just like he plays hard. Last but not least, my homer pick, Adrian Peterson. I would say draft him in all formats as your backup running back. I think he's getting drafted extremely late. The dude came out and said, I'm running 2,000 yards this season. He said, this is what I'm doing. And he said, I'm going to try. But, either way, Adrian Peterson said he's going to go out there and try to run 2,000 yards this year. He still thinks he can do it. The line isn't great, but he showed a lot of times last season that he still has a lot in the tank and that he's an explosive runner and that he runs hard. Darius Geis is going to get injured. He's already got a hammy, and we all know that hammies are lingering issues. He came back too soon. I don't think he should be playing this year because, his injury timetable, after the infection that he had, it doesn't make any sense that, he's back already. He had to basically re-get the surgery mid-season, and there's not enough time to heal between them. So I think Adrian Peterson is going to be the guy. It's just a matter of when.
And where he's going, that's why I'm in the late round as well, because he's late rounds. I think for the late rounds, especially where he's going, it's a steal because
he's a starter.
He's going to be starting at the beginning of the season. He should.
Bryce Love injury prone. Chris Thompson injury prone. Darius Geis injury prone. Who's left?
Or Chris Thompson's not really even a running back. He's more of the receiving back anyway. So it's like
he can carry the ball a little bit, but you don't want to take
it. If he does, he's out.
Dead.
So Adrian Peterson, I think he could be really good, especially where he's going.
Yeah.
Because if Geis comes back too soon, and he comes back and let's say Geis starting the season, he's going to be injured. I think 100% chance he gets injured, and that only further benefits AP.
It hurts my heart that that's the truth, but I have to accept that as a fan and as a fantasy football player and as whatever. And I got to let you know, I never vouch for Redskins players in fantasy terms because I absolutely hate them.
Yeah, the Redskins suck in terms of fantasy.
For fantasy, because they don't have a consistent wide receiver. They don't have a consistent... Vernon Davis was our most consistent player. That doesn't make any sense. He shouldn't be. So I'm telling you, Adrian Peterson, he's the guy. Just go with it, late rounds and draft. I'm not saying go grab him in the second round and say, oh, Adrian Peterson's a starter. Yeah, no, I'm just saying grab him at value and you're going to be happy.
He kind of could be inconsistent at times, but I think he can for sure start the first half of the year, and then Geis comes back, and that's where he kind of loses value, and then you can just drop him, pick somebody up after that happens.
Well, and if Geis gets injured and he does come back, you can pick him up anyway.
Yeah, so it's
whether Geis comes.
I think whether Geis starts right away or if he doesn't, that just benefits AP. I think either way, he's going to have a really good start to the year. Redskins line last year banged up. Redskins got destroyed in injuries last year.
They're still a run-heavy team.
So I think.
He had opportunities though last year.
So I think in terms of getting some players back maybe that weren't healthy, that's definitely good.
Yeah, the line's getting worse and worse though. I mean, I'm not saying that the team's going to be good. The team's going to be hot trash, but the points still have to come somewhere. Every team in fantasy football or every team in the league has somebody that they just feed the ball, and I think he's the guy. So
yeah, and in terms of stack box, I mean, he could get the stack box against them because.
The one play that I have in my head is the play where they were on the 1 yard line. Adrian Peterson ran up the middle with 9 guys in front of him. He ran straight up the middle and then took it all the way to the house, 99 yards. That's the play I have in my head, and I'm hoping he can. I mean, he's not going to do that every week or whatever, but I think he can put up 1,200
for the volume that he should be getting. He could be decent for the first half of the year. Not crazy good, but he could definitely be decent, solid. Especially for a backup, if you have an early week 4 bye week for maybe one of your running backs. I'm not sure who might have that this year, but. He can definitely be a solid backup to start the year.
Yeah, he can mean RB2, RB3, no doubt.
No doubt. Penny, I put Rashard Penny on the late rounds. We already kind of talked about that a little bit. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity, especially with Chris Carson. I think they're both going to be fantasy relevant. And then the one good thing as well is that if Carson gets injured, Penny's all around train. He's going to be a train. It's just all Penny. You could even get 30 touches with the Seahawks run the ball. I mean, I think if Chris Carson gets injured, that'd be crazy good for Penny. But even if he doesn't, I think he still has value.
He's a good handcuff.
I can see him getting 800 yards this year.
I think he's a great handcuff.
As a backup.
Yeah.
So
to back up to Chris Carson.
And honestly, if you're getting Chris Carson, it might not even be a bad idea to get both.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, handcuff him. There's only a few guys in the league that I consider handcuffing. I think Adrian Peterson and Darius Geis is one of them. I wouldn't even suggest drafting Darius Geis, but just in case you do, you have to get Adrian Peterson. Rashad Penny, Chris Carson, I think those are great options. Darrell Henderson, Todd Gurley.
And Lamar Miller and Foreman, another guy I think I like a lot. So Deontay Foreman, I try to draft him in every league because he's going so late right now. You're picking between him and trash. So it's if you look back 2 years ago, he split carries with Lamar Miller. It was Lamar Miller for one drive, and then it was Deontay Foreman for a drive. So they would go one drive at a time. And so if they go back to that this year, he could definitely be relevant. And if Lamar Miller gets injured, or they just decide, hey, you're trash, because he's kind of trash, and they had enough of him. Foreman's the guy, and they already kind of came out and said they like Foreman. He's been doing really good. He's looked good. He was a year removed from that major injury.
He's not a guy I've followed, but I have faith. I think what you're saying makes sense, and I'm for it.
I think with Lamar Miller, if they split carries, Foreman could definitely be good, and there's a good chance he takes his job. I wouldn't be surprised if halfway through the year they said, hey, Foreman's our guy. Lamar Miller, kind of getting older. We don't even like you that much.
Well, they've kind of shown that in the past that they don't like.
Alfred Blue last year, I think, kind of had some carries towards the end of the year. Yeah,
and Alfred Blue is not great.
And Alfred Blue is not there anymore, so
he's
you
not
don't have to worry about.
And he's not good. So
if you draft Lamar Miller, I feel like you have to draft Foreman, especially where he's going in the late rounds.
I think I would still grab him as a late round flyer
either way. I would still draft him in the late round. And I've kind of taken him early a couple of times just to make sure I get him because I like him that much. I think he's like a for sure. I must draft him just because he's going so late, and it could be a potential steal. The one issue with drafting Lamar Miller and Foreman is obviously maybe you're getting like half the production from one, half the production from the other, and you're kind of using 2 spots on your team. But I'm okay with that.
So with a deeper bench, it's a lot more advisable.
Yeah. And then our last guy that I wanted to kind of talk about was Jerick McKinnon. Him and Tevin Coleman is a toss-up, man. I mean, I think Tevin Coleman in standard might be better. Tevin Coleman can receive for sure. He definitely did that with the Falcons. But I think McKinnon's just a better receiving back. So maybe they use Coleman as a running back and then McKinnon as the receiving back. That's kind of how I see it happening. Or maybe McKinnon is just better. They could split carries like they kind of do with Lamar and Foreman like a couple years ago. It could be like Coleman 1 drive, McKinnon 1 drive. But I think it also could be Coleman's our running back for sure. He's just our running back. And McKinnon's our receiving back. Even though Tevin Coleman can receive, I just think McKinnon's probably better at it.
And they paid him. They said that they wanted him as a running back before all that happened, before the injury happened, whatever. They paid him a big amount of money to go in there and be the starter. And so I think that just because he got injured one season, well, I mean, I think especially because he got injured one season, nobody came out and showed it. Nobody came out and showed that they were good. So
and that's another thing. Is last year when FreeMan was injured, Tevin Coleman, what did he do? He didn't do that much, and they even started using a little bit more of Ito Smith as time went on. Ito Smith didn't really do that much either, so maybe that was just Lions line being kind of shitty. But
it's his turn, man.
I think with McKinnon, maybe in the full punt PPR, it might be safer, might be better, and Coleman could be better in a standard. I still kind of like McKinnon either way, especially where they're going draft. McKinnon's later than Coleman, so if you're taking a shot at a running back, I think it's like a 50-50 chance either way, so might as well get the later round guy in McKinnon.
And so since I talk about my fears with literally every single player, the one fear I have with him, it's actually not injury. It's the same fear I have with Garoppolo is that he controls the game. He plays the game nice and slow, and then lets the clock run out and whatever. And I think that they get a lot less plays off than other teams because the game just like drones on, and so they're not going to get as many plays off, and Jerick McKinnon's probably not going to get as many yards because of that. But I still think that he can have a great season. So,
and I'm not worried about Matt Breida at all. I don't think he's that good. I think he's a clear-cut third back, and I don't think he's going to get that much field time.
I think he's overrated.
Yeah, I think he's overrated for sure. McKinnon is just when I draft him, it's kind of like I don't feel good about it. It's like, but like later on, he's definitely up there. So considering where you're drafting him, if you get him for the right price, I think it could be decent. And that pretty much rounds out our top 20 list. And
hopefully we still got a few of you guys still watching. This was a lot of fun. This is our first video, and we hope that a lot of you guys can subscribe, get notifications for all of our videos upcoming. Yeah. We're going to do some receiver stuff. We're going to do some quarterback stuff, tight ends, whatever. All the stuff that nobody wants to cover.
Yep, so this is Living the Fantasy. And this is our first video. Tuning out.